Hey guys, this is going to be a boring but short episode. I recently had this exchange on Facebook, and the exchange was not particularly notable, but I'm going to hold it up as being emblematic of kind of typical internet atheist bluster. You know, they make these high flown proclamations like, we learned so much about science and the need for God recedes, and I believe in science. And they all try to make it sound very impressive, but it is criminally easy to call them out on their bullshit. And I'm not punching down in this instance. This is a relatively intelligent, articulate man, but atheism has a way of making even intelligent, articulate people, it just lures them into the self satisfied intellectual torpor where they just suspend all critical thinking skills. And I think this little Facebook exchange illustrates that perfectly. So the discussion had been rolling along without me here, and this guy gets up in the soapbox and he says, and I totally relate to the deep emotional attraction to the idea of making up the idea of a god. I feel it. Because he's patronizing to us here. He understands us better than we understand ourselves. But he's a rational, objective atheist, so he thinks with his head, not with his heart, unlike us drippy Christians, am I right? So he continues here. Because science has advanced so far, we can answer almost all questions with science, but never all of them. And here we have the atheist talking point again, that as science progresses, belief in God recedes. They just accept this axiomatically, try to press them on the specifics of how and why belief in God recedes as science progresses, and they start to get very cagey. But he continues on a while here, and you could scroll down and read all that, but he continues on, and down here he says, I have to look in the deepest inner working of the universe and just accept that it exists without any known cause. Doing this is deeply emotionally disturbing. It leaves open this big, dark, scary hole in my understanding that I desperately want to plug and cover over, and I know I can paper over the gaping hole with the idea of a god, and blah 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 blah. He goes on like this. Basically, it's more of this boilerplate bullshit dime store psychology that atheists revert to. Heaven forfend you try to tell an atheist, oh, well, you're not really an atheist. You actually believe in God. You just don't like the idea of God. You don't like living under God's authority. And they will bristle at that suggestion. No, you are absolutely to take everything atheists say at face value, but they are free to invent this whole bullshit pop psychology analysis of your motives. But, down here I have my response. Science has advanced so far, ... is a complete red herring as a justification for atheism, especially if, at the end of it, you're just going to assert that the world exists as a brute fact. Brute facticity, to whatever degree it is a viable explanation, was an option that was always available to you, regardless of the degree of scientific advancement. So why bring science up in the first place? That is, at the end of it all, atheists say, well, the world and the laws it operates by came into being and continue to exist for no reason at all. It just exists as a brute fact. And if that is a valid belief, and of course I would highly debate it's a valid belief, but if that is a valid belief, it is a metaphysical position that was always available to you no matter how much or how little you know about science. So if atheism boils down to that assertion that the world exists as a brute fact, science is completely superfluous to it. So down here he has his response. Because the process of science is how I came to all my conclusions and beliefs. What process did you use to arrive at your conclusions? Why is your process right and mine wrong? So I made the obvious response here. No, it isn't, but I'll humor you. What is the scientific induction that led you to the paradoxical conclusion that things don't require explanations? So basically he asserted that the scientific method is the basis for all his conclusions and beliefs, which is both a practical and a logical impossibility, and I'm going to explore that in depth in a later video. But he left himself open to the most obvious criticism, which is that his assertion that the universe can exist as a brute fact cannot be scientifically validated. And I know this is going to be a shocker to you, but he did not respond to my challenge. So atheist bluster is just criminally easy to puncture, if you know how. I hope this was instructive to you. Thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe.